This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram at Lone Wolf PB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community.
What's going on, PTG Nation? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This episode, we have Mark Ireland of Tampa Bay Damage, one of the original Miami Rage members. If you guys don't recognize the name from back in the day, you've definitely seen his iconic photo. Marky is an absolute staple in the OG era of paintball. One of the cool kids, bad boys, legendary studs of the early or mid 2000s. So without further ado, we're going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon. Great shot by all the guys. So Tyler Harmon saved that game. He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
Welcome, everybody, back to the show. Thank you for being here. We cannot thank you enough for tuning into this program. We're excited to have you all here. And we have a true OG in the game, Mark Ireland, a battle-tested vet, key piece to Tampa Bay Damage. And Mark has been in the trenches, earning respect with every point he plays out there. So let's hop into it. Mark, how you doing, bro? Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you guys, man. First of all, thank you for inviting me on the show, man. But I'm doing awesome, man. Living the Florida dream. How about y'all?
Yes, sir. Yeah, living the AZ dream. He's living the San Diego dream. We're doing it.
Yeah, we got that Cali dream over here.
Hey, fair enough.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, man. And you, for everybody that doesn't know, you have been in the trenches. You've been in the game for decades. And we actually posted this OG photo of you in our Discord with the Miami Rage, with the gold teeth, letting them know, you know?
Yeah, man. I've been doing it for a while, man. I think my first trip to a national event was '99 World Cup. Since, thankfully I live in Orlando, Florida, so it's pretty much forever been in my backyard. So '99 was my first World Cup that I attended. 2000 World Cup, first national event that I played. So yeah, I've been in the trenches for a while, been grinding since I was a kid, and been fortunate enough to be in this game and to see it at this stage of my life. So definitely a pleasure to still be around and still hanging out with the crew and still having the ability to keep up with all those kids out there.
Straight up, we're right there with you, dude. These kids are good. They're good out there.
Yeah, this next generation, man, they're coming up quick, man. There's some heaters on the roster for these U16, U19 kids, man. And it's good to see that next generation coming up and with a strong wave, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have the U16 and U19 like formal team tryout this weekend, and I look forward to this weekend because it's the best of the best in the nation, or at that age, and seeing like how good these kids are so young is just really impressive. And it's a little different than when we grew up. I mean, some good, some bad. I think when the 3 of us came up in the game, it was a little more rough, and you kind of had to learn the hard way. But now there's so much information out there. Like you can learn how to become a master at pretty much any position, whether it's through BKI or, all the different pros that are accessible, all the online programs, PTG, all the different shows, the coaches show. Like there is just nonstop paintball content that you can consume and like really elevate from a young age. And you're seeing these kids really take advantage of it. Some of these kids that are coming up through the camps are just phenomenal, and they stick with it, they're going to be, better than, any 3 of us have ever been.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just to kind of, segue on what you're saying, the resources that they have. I mean, we didn't have that. We didn't have, all the resources in which you spoke about. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see the kids utilizing it and taking advantage of the great minds at, like you said, the BKI camps and all of these clinics and videos that are online and YouTube and training sessions, and to see these kids really take advantage of it. Because I think you guys have spoken about it. There was a lull for a while, right, where we really didn't see that influx of the next generation just wanting to go out there and grind, and to see it is definitely awesome. I mean, we have the privilege of out at Legacy, we got a couple of the kids that I think you'll see this weekend. I was fortunate enough to play with them on the weekly basis, and they got some skills, man.
They got skills, dude.
Yeah, they keep us sharp, so it's awesome to see it.
Yeah, keep it going out there, youngsters. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes my job really difficult. Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, when we're like making the decisions, it's a bummer because truly all the kids that do get the invite to this tryout, they're all good enough. And honestly, any selection of them probably could go over and win. But we have a limited roster, so some of them do have to get told that they didn't make the team, and it's a really tough conversation. But what I know for sure is that all of them, as long as they continue on the path, they will achieve a professional career. We're just limited in the roster spots. And so, very, very difficult. Some of those conversations are tough, but, also I think, sets them up for the future and gives them stuff to work on and improve upon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, sometimes, it can be a blessing in disguise, right? Because, that kid that is just on the cusp or has to have one of those difficult conversations, right? Maybe that's what puts that chip on his shoulder, and he goes out there and he just puts his head down, and next year comes into camp and he's just, lights out, right? So, I think each and every one of us, especially on this show, can say that there was a moment in our career where we were counted out. We had to have a difficult conversation. We didn't make a team, or we didn't get the playing time in which we desired, right? And that puts a little chip on your shoulder, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. Don't take it as discouragement. Take it as motivation, and build upon that.
That's what it's all about, right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was actually out with the Filthy Crew this last weekend in New Jersey on the East Coast, working with that squad all season. And Landon, we had Mason's on USA.
Yeah. Mason's a stud.
Yeah, he's dominant, super dominant. So really, we're all proud of you guys, man. Like all this new generation that's coming up, super gritty, super hardworking, very receptive to information, and just being a student of the game. Now, the other flip side of the coin to that is you have a lot of information, but you got to put it into action. And that's something that is the most difficult thing. And that comes through setting the intention properly and knowing how you're going to approach the game. And that's one of the biggest hurdles that I've seen with the younger players is they have almost maybe even too much information and not enough action. And we want to see that action get applied through that, really hard-lined intention of how you want to approach paintball and how you want to, be remembered as a player when you leave that field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Marky, you got your boy playing too. I know he's still a little young; he's not quite ready yet, but one day, I'm sure you're hoping that one day he's out there trying out for U16.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of against my better judgment, right? Like as I grew up very young into the game, and like you said, back in the day, it was a little bit different, a little bit more hard-nosed, if you will. But yeah, I mean, my son showed an interest at a very young age, right? Again, World Cup was in our backyard, so we would go out there, and he loved the jelly ball, right? So it started at a very, very young age, and I was like, jelly ball, harmless, and it kind of has progressed. And so for his birthday, he just, one of the big things, I want a Lux, Dad. I want a Lux. Buddy, I don't know about this. So for what it's worth, it came to fruition, and he was a very happy kid on his birthday. And for the last 2 weeks, he's been out there, and he's been, grinding on the X ball field, and a little young. But there's a great group of kids where we play, and they support him, and he's out there, and he comes off, and I tell him, I said, my number one rule is, man, you can't cry. If you want to play with the big guys, you have to understand these are adults, these are big guys, but the fearlessness and determination, I think it helps him build his character, right? And not being able to excel as quickly as he'd like, right? Because there's obviously an age difference there, and a skill set difference. But you know, having to fail, I think will it helps him build, it helps him grow, right? And not just in paintball, but in all aspects of life. Where he plays competitive soccer, he plays travel soccer, so he travels all around the state of Florida, and he's pretty good, right? They win a lot more than they lose. So kind of walks out there like, you know, hot dogging it on the paintball field. And this weekend, you know, he learned some life lessons this weekend, and you know,
Yeah.
but he was fearless. He's like, I'm ready to get back out on the field, Dad. Like, I want to go. It hurts, but I'm like, man, you know, but to see the wheels turning in his head, and to see the drive and determination to, you know, even when failure kind of slaps you in the face, if you will, you know, he stands back up and he's ready to go again, and starts to learn from those mistakes, and you know, starts to put it together in his head. And so for me, as long as we can keep it safe, you know, in this sport, I think we do a very good job of keeping it safe, especially for the younger generation. You know, I'll continue to let him grow, because the life lessons that I learned in paintball, growing up, you know, I would love for him to have that same ability. So in the community, right? Like we had a great community out there that was supporting him, giving him waters, you know, hyping him up. And so to me, the community, those life lessons, and just kind of the growth in which will happen to him, you know, and I'm able to kind of keep him in the lines a little bit more than I was when I was at that younger age. So, you know, it's truly a privilege to be able to be out there and play with him. Some memories that are, you know, kind of near and dear to my heart.
That's the best. Yeah. And, you know, he's a young soldier, just like his pa, man, you know?
Yeah, man. He's out there, and he's, you know, I was like, man, you know, even this past weekend, he was kind of having a little rough go of it, because 2 weekends ago we had just kind of a street ball weekend, right? Weekend after Tampa, everybody just kind of go out, and it was mayhem. It was tons of fun. We played 10 on 10, we played 7 on 7, 5 on 5, no teams, just first 5 to the box, and he got a lot of points, and he had a bunch of fun. I mean, he probably paid 20 or 25 points, and he just had a great day of it. And so I kind of walked out there again, kind of, yeah, what's going on this weekend? Life lesson, you know. So
So what were some of the tough challenges that he was facing, and how old is he specifically? It's okay. It's okay. No. Yeah. No, we got you.
You know, I'm not trying to get any field waivers.
He's 10.
You know,
He's 10 years old,
bro.
For the sake of this conversation, he's 10 years old. But he did just have a birthday, and but you know, one of the life lessons that he learned kind of is, you know, he went up to a tower, right? So we were playing the layout that I believe in which you guys will be working on this weekend. So he went up to one of those center towers, and the first thing he did is he turned around and he was asking his team, where are they at? Where are they at? And someone had moved up in the snake side, got almost parallel to him, and was able to clip him out. So he came off the field. He got a shot a couple of times, right? Because it's not a clear shot. So the guy in snake wasn't being malicious in any way, shape, or form, right? He was just shooting across the field, saw a body, put some paint into it. And my son just happened to catch a couple, right? And so he came off the field, and he was a little frustrated. And so, and then a little bit of pain, right? But I told him, I was like, you know, what were you doing wrong, right? First of all, you're facing the wrong way. You're looking at the net, not at your opponents, right? And I
never turn your back to the ocean.
Never, you know. And I told him, I said, you know, what's the easiest way not to get shot? And he was like, well, to shoot people. And I said, well, how do you shoot people? Got to shoot your paintball gun, right? So if you're not shooting at the bad guys, you're not, they have free will to kind of go where they want, do what they want, and shoot you, right? And if you don't like getting shot, the easiest way not to get shot is to shoot them first. And so we kind of had to start to ingrain that, right? Because he's used to playing the recreational where he can shoot 20 balls or he can shoot 200 balls and he can have a great point. And but in X ball, it's focused. You got to shoot. Yeah, you got to shoot a little bit more paint, you know. And so some of those life lessons that at that, and he's like, one time he was like, oh, why? I'm like, why didn't you move? Right? We talked about a plan of 6, you know, of where you're going to go. And it's like, why didn't you move? Said, well, people are shooting at me. This is paintball, son. They're always going to be shooting at you. Sometimes you have to make a way, right? Like all you have to do is sometimes just a quick engagement to get that guy to flinch. I'm like, buddy, you're super small. You get that guy to flinch and you're through that little 2-3 foot gap before he can even realize it and or hit you. I'm like, sometimes you got to make it happen. And so trying to put some of those things in his head, right? That, you know, they're not going to give you the free pass to just come up and shoot him in the back, right? Like nobody wants to get shot in the back, not you or that big guy over there. So he's going to do the job, you know. So learning those challenges and you know, and in paintball, right? There's no participation trophies, right? There's no like, oh, you did a good job, right? we do that off the field, right? But on the field, and something that is special to me about paintball is if you make a mistake, you feel it almost immediately, right? You know, if I give up that gap and that guy makes the 50 snake, how do I know that he's going to make the 50 snake? Because he's going to laser my back. There's some pain that's involved with mistakes. Hopefully it makes that learning curve through my guidance, the guidance of others around the field, and some of that unwanted pain that will help expedite that learning curve for him. So
yeah, those are kernels of knowledge that just stand true for the game. You know, these are these nuggets of gold that sometimes they take a long time for players to learn if they have someone who can help fast track, but then they got to put it into action. And he's already got one step ahead in the game because we're old and tall. We got to get low to make these low angles. He's already got the low angles covered. You know, it's wrap low, go, keep it moving. Like Chris Shear, if you watch Chris Shear, he has his head at the bottom corner of the Dorito, just laying down, poking his head out from the low corner. And then once he has clearance, he's going. You know, the young generation, they already have the low clearance. They just got to start applying that pressure and making those moves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Chris Shear is definitely one of the best things in the game. When I first saw him do it, I was like, yeah, the side of your goggles are full of dirt, man. You know, it's like, yeah, no, I literally put my head on the ground and slide it around. I'm like, wow, that is the definition of low and go, my man. So
that's
it. You know, hats off to you for being able to get that low and put your head right in the dirt, man.
That's where the money's at right there. That's where the game. That's where
the free stuff is in the dirt. I got to give Splitty. I know you know Stephen Reyes from.
We were talking about that all weekend.
The free stuff is in the dirt. That's a good little phrase that he put together. But he's right. You know, like if you get in the snake, if you can get low, crawl the way down. You know, don't get caught coming up in the first knuckle, shooting cross field. You get into a really good position, come up, get some free kills. It's the same thing on the Dorito side, you know. Dorito players often play just way too big. They get to that first Dorito and they want to be big, and they're like gunfighting, and they're like, you know, trying so hard to get to the next Dorito when all they have to do, the lower they go, that bunker gets wider, and you're actually usually blocked out by the person you were gunfighting with, you know. And so, yeah, the free stuff's in the dirt, straight up. Take that free move.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to steal that little golden nugget. I like that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Shout out to Splitty.
Yeah, there you go, Splitty.
Yeah, he's amazing, bro. To be honest, like, you know, a fairly newer player. He's kind of risen up the ranks really quickly with Wrecking Crew, but his mind for the game is really, really superb. And we had him on the show. That was one of my favorite episodes. You know, like the way he'll bring stuff to me, these ideas and concepts. Because one, he's all in. Like he's about as all in as it gets. He's focusing on paintball, thinking about paintball at the field, practicing and doing drills more than almost anybody I know. He plays like, you know, as much as you possibly can. And
that's where it's at, right?
Yeah, that's where it's at. Yeah. And you know, he's like always trying to come up with some pretty interesting concepts. And so I love the way his mind works and the way his mind sees the game.
Yeah, shout out to all those Wrecking Crew guys, man.
Yeah,
bunch of dogs.
No, I mean to cut you off, Tyler.
No, there's a bunch of dogs.
Wrecking Crew. there's some good guys, man. You know, we always enjoy battling those guys on the layout, you know, weekends, and they're coming down. They're just a bunch of dogs for sure. They, you know, have a good time. They're great, all great, like-minded players, you know, that are just have a love for the game and just want to get better. So being able to watch them from the beginning of last season to, you know, where they're at this season is just the growth is phenomenal. So, you know, hats off to those guys for grinding and making it happen. You know what I mean?
It's an inspiration to the whole community. That group is inspiring a lot of divisional paintball players right now.
It is.
And pros. Yeah.
And doing it the right way, right? Like just getting out there and grinding, right? Like, you know, that rule of 10,000 hours, right? Like there's no way to fast track it. They got to get out there. They got to grind. And those guys are doing it the right way, right? They're great people. They're great human beings off the field. You know what I mean? They're great competitors when you get within the nets, right? Like, you know, he bounced me when I was going here. Like just straight up guys that you know, we've had the privilege of practicing for a year and a half now, and you know, just good people all around. So, you know,
super talented group. And shout out to Rob building the camp out there. Marcelo's done a tremendous amount of work making sure that they have a good philosophy and culture and these pillars that we talk about that we all have to stand on. They're sturdy. And what I love that you said about the Wrecking Crew group is the caliber of people that they are, because that's what's gotten them to go so far. It's these high caliber people that have the utmost respect for everything around them. They really care about the process. They care about the community. And when you have that kind of intention that you set for that team and everything around you, when you take that team places, it's the difference maker that's going to take them all the way to whatever dreams they want to accomplish through that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When they walk off the field, like, those guys are having a conversation rather than, fighting at each other, and just those types of, pillars, if you will, within your camp, right? Like, I don't know where it comes from, right? But it's there. You can see it, that they're just, they have that, single purpose of wanting to grow and wanting to unify as a team. So, I mean, that's, it definitely has attributed to their success, and hats off to them, and continued growth for those guys.
Yeah. Same with Fit. I would say Fit has the similar, pedigree as like the Wrecking Crew, where they're a unified hive mind, just really reputable people for the most part.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And they are working hard. They're working really hard. And if you put all that together, you're going to get some good results. So I want to dive into your history in the game and kind of get your grassroots. You know what I mean? Where did paintball start for you? How did you first get introduced to the sport?
Oh, well, many years ago. My grassroots, many moons ago, right? So started in the back of the neighborhood, man, and we had woods and a lake in the back of our neighborhood, and so a couple of the guys, we were playing BB gun wars, and
oh shit,
yeah, we were pretty reckless, so it was a little unsafe. There was a little accident. Thankfully, everybody left with all limbs and toes, and so
how about eyes?
That's where it was at. It actually got lodged just on the inside of his nose. And
no.
So there was like a big, huge conversation. And this group of like 15 kids rolls up with a mom to the hospital. And there was a big conversation of what color the BB was, right? Was it a copperhead or was it a silver one? And so we had this whole conversation, and the moms came out and were like, look, you guys can do this, but let's be a little bit smarter about it, right? So took us to Walmart. They were like, all right, everybody's got a little budget. So we all went and got Talon paintball guns, right? Little 12-ounce CO2s, whatever, little 10-round hoppers. And so we kind of shifted our world to paintball. And that was really my first experience with paintball. And, I had a blast. We would just go out every weekend in the woods, and we would take whatever money that we had. We'd go up to Walmart, we'd stock up on supplies, and we'd go back into the woods, and we'd play until we were just completely tired. Fortunately enough, there's a paintball field that's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes up the road, Orlando Paintball. And so I was probably 11 or 12 years old the first time that I went up there. And my mom was like, yeah, let's get you in something a little bit more organized. The woods, I'm playing with some of the guys that I'm playing with were probably 3 times my age. She's like, maybe if you go somewhere up here, it's going to be people a little bit more, your speed. And so I started playing there, and fortunately enough, I could get on the city bus and go up there. So my mom would wake up Saturdays, and I'd be like, hey, Mom, I want to go to the paintball field. And she's like, all right, cool. And I jump on the city bus and go up there. So that's really started playing there. They had a hyperball field, and so started playing there, started getting on the hyperball field with what I quote unquote the tournament players, and started to grow my love for the competitiveness. I grew up playing travel baseball, so I had that team camaraderie, and I had that competitive chip, if you will. So going out there and getting shot up definitely didn't sit too well with me. And then I was fortunate enough to have Kenny Clamper from Team Aftershock.
OG.
Yeah, OG, right? So he moved into the front of my neighborhood, and so he obviously was playing professional, and at that time he's like, I need somebody to shoot, man. So I was like, yeah, sure. And so he would get cases of Marbleizer shipped to his house, and he'd be like, hey, go 3-4 cases of Marb in the back of my truck, let's pee and snap shoot. And mind you, this is like auto mag and auto cocker days, and my man's load up.
You're so lucky to have that opportunity at that time. That's crazy. Wow.
100%, right? That's really what propelled me in being able to kind of learn, right, and be a student, become a student of the game rather than just the recreational. Being introduced to Kenny Clamper, and then him moving in my neighborhood, and then giving me the opportunity to practice with him. There was another gentleman that lived with him, Aaron Rosen, that played on Shock Tech, played on Aftershock a little bit. So I'm throwing out some OG names. There's may not be a bunch of people that know who those people are.
If you know, you know.
If
Come
you know,
on.
you know, right? If you were, the early 2000s, that was, so we would go up to Orlando Paintball and we would just, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we would snap shoot hours. And, till my hands would bleed because he was far superior than I was.
Hey, Marky, real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to, again, highlight, you went out and snapshot. You did gunfighting drills with teammates.
Yeah, absolutely.
People were shooting back at you. Only reason I bring that up is because nowadays all these kids, all they do is shoot targets, right? And they go out and they shoot targets until they're blue in the face. And like if you watch them, you go, holy shit, that kid can snap. He's fast, he's quick, he's low profile, he's accurate. But then when they get in real gunfights, they're like losing all these gunfights. And it took me a while to realize what was going on. I was like, why isn't this translating to the field? And I was like, oh, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, when we were kids, we'd go out and it was like you grab a teammate and you would gunfight with them. That was our version of snap shooting drills. It's not to say that target shooting is not good. I still do target shooting, but the more times that you can get someone at the other end of the field to actually shoot back, you learn to read the paint coming in at different distances. And that's what allows you to understand gunfight rhythm and timing. And, based on how far the opponent is from you, how quickly you have to come back in and dodge the paint. That's like such a crucial part of it. So, anyone that's listening to this, divisional players, target shooting is great. It's good to work on your mechanics and your form and accuracy, but you really need to be gunfighting with teammates. You really need to be gunfighting with, other people that are shooting back at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no. I think I probably spent, not to fast forward in my journey or anything, but I probably spent 3 years, that was our drill of choice on the weeknights, right? And even if it was a case of paint, right?
Yeah.
We would go, each person would load up their hopper and we would go to 2 set bunkers. And even if we could spend an hour and a half in one-on-ones, and we weren't running around, right? We would pick 2 fixed bunkers and we would play multiple sides of it. But, it was, you do that twice a week, you're putting in 3 hours. It doesn't seem like a lot of time, but you could spend a case of paint on each one. It doesn't have a whole lot of cost money. And then later on, kind of fast forward, deviate a little bit, which lived 3 miles down the road. Another OG, right? He lived on a lake. We just went and got 2 pieces of plywood, set them up, and we would, every day we would change distance, 15 feet, 20 feet, 10 feet, whatever it may be. And we would just sit next to the lake. We'd go grab a case of paint, fill up our tanks, and we'd go snap shoot. So there was probably like a 3-year span where we would spend, 1, 2, 3 days a week, and we might shoot 2 or 3 cases, but we had a ton of time behind the gun snap shooting against an actual opponent. And that definitely I felt like it gave me an advantage, especially because most of the guys that I wanted to shoot always wanted to shoot right-handed. So for me, I was always left-handed. And I felt like it gave me that left-handed advantage where a lot of people right-handed get a little bit more comfortable, elbows out a little bit more. And they're, so for me, I'm like, my left hand is my strong hand. So that's all right. Like, go ahead. If you're going to give me more, just makes my job easier.
Yeah.
That's dedication right there.
Yeah. So I had those guys, like I said, I've named a couple of people that, from back in the sport that were, big time and, taught me a lot. Kenny Clamper moved out. Rico Fernandez moved in. Another old legend in the game. He played with Rage in the late 90s. I believe he owns a field over in Tampa. And he kind of took me under his wing. And we took snap shooting, and then we started to apply game-making decisions, right? When you go here, why do you do this? And to be able to start to teach me the actual game of paintball. Right now, my gunfighting skills were there. They were adequate, but I needed to learn how to analyze the game, how to break down the game, to understand the reads and if this, then that. And so we did that for about 1.5 years, and that really kind of started to work into my amateur days. At that point, we only had rookie, novice, amateur, and pro. And so that really kind of pushed me into, I played on Strange B in 2002, 2003, maybe something like that.
Let's not brush over these team names that he's dropping. Miami Rage. So these are some of the most iconic teams ever to play the sport of paintball. Obviously, it was in the early 2000s. And mind you, at this time, paintball was arguably as big or bigger than it is right now in like these tournaments were massive. I think there's probably more eyes on paintball right now just because of the socials, but the live venues were just insane. It was like a
Nothing like
circus. It was like a circus. Yeah. And there was some really iconic teams, and these are two of the most iconic teams ever to play the sport: Miami Rage and Strange.
Yeah, and then I played with them for a little bit, and then I moved over to my mind, right? There might be some people that disagree, but an amateur power for, I want to say, a year, maybe 2 years. I played with Agent Smith. I played with a couple of other guys I don't think that are any longer in the sport, but we played against the likes of Evil Factory, Cap Factory, Nemesis, and some of those big names like Dave Baines, right? So I played against Dave Baines on Cap. In the early days, I played against John Rathman when he was on Evil. Played against Brimstone Smoke. So when the amateur division was
booming.
It was booming. And like you said, when we would roll up to those events, perfect example, right? Like Huntington Beach, like I'll never forget, Huntington Beach, early 2000s. I mean, just on one side, there was just, surfers and people just walking on the beach. The other side, huge grandstand, just slap full, not a phone in sight, people just living in the moment. And yeah, absolutely. Those were some days.
I can still smell the ocean air. I can hear it, man. Like I can feel it. I'm still there.
Yes.
So much fun out
we got to get, hey, we made it back to Raymond James, man. Let's figure out a way to get back on HB.
Yeah.
I don't know if that one's possible. I mean, it's so small, These events are so much bigger now. I guess, I don't know. I guess you could, like, you just have to line it all the way down.
It's going to happen someday.
Hey,
we're going to make it happen.
Let's think about it. Let's run that. I know there was, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, right? We did a pro combine. Oh, we did that in Legacy. Maybe we do a pro combine, right? Maybe we start off the season. We do a little something, a pro exhibition, right? We can get those eyes, right?
Yeah.
We have the technology to be able to, put cameras on it, right? But then we put it in a location, but we can do it where maybe there's 1 or 2 fields, but we can really hone in, from
I love this idea.
Spectators,
like a pay-per-view kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Top 10 teams, pay-per-view, mid-season. We have a 3-month break. Let's do something where we're like really trying to build the format around the show. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we can really hone some things in. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I thought that was probably one of the most iconic venues that I've had the privilege of playing at. So I mean, why not put it there with social media? And I mean, look at there was just one overseas
Thailand one.
Thailand, right?
That
looked crazy on the internet. So I mean, like, let's do something like that here, right? Like, I mean, I know that the budget may be, probably a challenge, but if we're really making this TV push, man, like we gotta
go all
James,
in.
Raymond James was kind of a step in that direction where, let's put it back on HB. Let's do something wild. Let's get those cameras there,
Yeah, speaking of Tampa, that venue was spectacular. So hats off to NXL, everybody that put all the hard work into making that come to life, because it looked phenomenal. Having that stadium there, home of the crew, and just having all those fields and paintball players, it looked great.
It was super iconic.
Yeah, it was.
Iconic.
Through social media, I've seen just so many just awesome pictures, right? Like I had a friend share a couple of years back some of the pictures from the last time that I played in Tampa. And I think it was 2006. So to be able to see that, and then kind of the recreation or reincarnation of those same photos was just pretty iconic, right? That, some of these guys will be able to, even us, right? We'll be able to look at these photos. And it's just pretty iconic to when you can see like Gillette Stadium in the background. You can see Team of the Crew. You can see some of those Qualicom, right, that we played in front of. When you see those photos, I don't know, they're just some
timeless,
of the dopest backdrops, that you just go, yeah, I played there. That was me, and it kind of resonates, in my opinion, with the people from outside of paintball. It's like, oh, you played at Raymond James, like, the light, you can see the light bulb come on in their head when they're like, oh, I thought you kind of like played in the woods, right?
It
like,
legitimizes it.
No, absolutely, and it creates that conversation where they're like, oh, you played at Raymond James? Like, oh, this is pretty big. I should go look it up. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, there's tons out there. Just Google it, and there's, you can find something that's your speed, that's your entertainment. But you're absolutely right. It legitimizes the people that just don't know.
Yeah. And paintball is global. It's just what we do is not entirely global quite yet in the mind of the people around the world, right? Everyone knows about paintball, but they don't really know about paintball. You know,
They don't know
you
about
see
the
it every.
sport side of it, right?
They don't,
They
they
know
don't
about
know
the
about the
game.
sports side.
They know about the
Correct.
game.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
And so
So
to be able to, yeah,
that's
no,
the
go
journey.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the journey.
Yeah,
And those people
100%.
being able to see it, I just think, creates that, legitimizes it, connects them, and brings them, creates some interest, right? Like, oh, okay, this thing is, you guys are pretty legit, like I should come out and see, like, I got people at work that were like, when you come to Orlando, like, we want to come and see you play. We want to see the venue. And these are people that have no idea, have never played paintball in their life, but it creates that, legitimacy that they would be interested to come out and check it out.
Yeah,
That's,
and
in my
give it a
opinion,
try.
what we need.
It's difficult. It's so hard playing paintball, man. Go give it a
Yes.
go.
Yes, for sure.
People underestimate it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I'll kind of digress back to my
Yes.
my playing days, and so I was playing amateur static. We played very well. We went all around. We had the privilege of going to Skyball, Aruba, traveling all around the United States. I mean, we were playing any 3-man, 5-man, 7-man, 10-man. I mean, we played everything. We had a roster of about 12 people that were all in, and I probably was at that time playing paintball. I was 16, 17 years old at that point. And I mean, I was probably playing paintball 7 days a week sometimes. And when I say playing paintball, right, some people, I don't want you to get the, misinterpretation. What you do on Sundays, that's a full day, right? But when I say 7 days a week, like I was training, right? Maybe for an hour and a half, 2 hours, but I was picking up, getting behind the gun, feeling my shot, maybe doing some one-on-one snap shootings, maybe doing some moving drills, maybe understanding, breaking down the game. But I was involved with paintball 7 days a week and being able to learn and digest at an accelerated rate, in my opinion, because there was others around me that weren't fortunate enough to have that time. And so then I got a tryout for Miami Effect. So Miami Effect was they were, I think, under Bob Long, right? And then it was procured by Smart Parts at the time, and they held a tryout in Orlando, Florida. And so I was like, it's paintball. I got nothing to do. I'll roll out there. I ended up having a stellar weekend, played very well. And at the end of the weekend, they offered me a contract. And so, of course, I was like, yeah, free paintball, free stuff. I'm in. Kind of took that, rolled with that for a couple of events. And that's when Art from Miami Rage reached out and said, hey, we got some guys down in Miami. We're pretty good, but we don't have a full line. And we want to get some of you Orlando guys. And at that point, it was myself, Jason Edwards, Kenny Clamper, and Ziggy Moonbeam. So
Ziggy.
some of those, so some of those that know, I threw out some legendary names there, and Travis Day, and and they took an Orlando crew, and they took a Miami crew, and they were like, hey, let's make it work. And man, that was probably
talk about culture. Talk about the culture, bro. That team,
man. It was fun.
Man.
It was intense. I mean, at this point in time, Art had some great relationships with some prominent NFL players. I won't say their names, right? Whether or not they wanted to be involved or publicly announced. But so they took very good care of us. And at that time, JT was an amazing sponsorship. We were rolling around. We were playing the 7-mans, the 10-mans. We were staying in the nicest hotels. We were living in Miami, with black cards being thrown across the table of, discussions of which one they were going to use. And, there was a lot of debauchery, a lot of fun, but, a group of guys, like we talk about it in the game, that live together, that party together, that chemistry that you get off of the field. We had it. I mean, we we had some budgets that allowed us to spend more time than we should together, but we had a great time, and that, I think, in my opinion, is what translated on the field to where we just knew what all of us were thinking, were doing, and it just perpetuated us from an average pro team up to an elite pro team that nobody plays. So it was a lot of fun. We had a great time, and it translated to becoming a scary paintball team for a lot of teams out there.
Hell yeah. What year did that team start?
I want to say 2005 is, I think we
Yeah.
started that team. I think it was just midway through the year 2005. And then I think when we really started to gain some success was 2006. And then 2007, I think we rode our high a little too long, where our work ethic kind of started to drop off, and the camaraderie started to, our heads got a little too big for ourselves. Like, just, point blank honest. And that's kind of what happens, to a lot of us. We talked about it earlier with my son, or with the team that you're playing. Getting success is one step, but maintaining that success is something completely different. And we were able to achieve the success, right? We won an event. We were top 3 all the time. But it got to our heads, right? We don't need to practice 5 days a week. I can just hang out. I can go live my life. I can go party. And ultimately that same thing perpetuated on the field, right? As our success started to decline, because we weren't putting in the work. Now people knew who we were. We were on the map, right? So they were studying and game planning and working to beat us. And we were not. Our focus was not on paintball and perfecting our craft. And ultimately we saw those results on the field. And no matter what we did, we just kind of slid off. And then that 2008 year kind of rolled around, and that was a real weird time for paintball. And so that was kind of, it fizzled out, right? So then we all kind of
A lot of stuff did. It just
it
was
went our
crazy.
separate ways, and kind of and did our own thing there for a little bit.
Yeah, talk about the early, like the first couple years of creating that roster. I mean, the buzz was crazy. The style was insane. Probably one of the best styles to ever hit the paintball field, for sure. It's crazy.
Yeah, so we had a bunch of different styles, right? So we had the South Florida guys that were just kind of like crazy and erratic, and then there was a couple of us Orlando guys that were a little bit more like myself. I'll say Jason Edwards, Travis Day, that were kind of like a little bit more contemporary, right? Like we would kind of be in the field and figuring it out with the IQ of where the game was at. And then you have, like Kenny Clamper just run down the field, like his aftershock mind would click in. He's like, I just got to go. I want to just, this guy.
Send it.
Send it, just full send. And it was wild. And it was, that's how I think it took us a little bit to put together, right? Because you kind of had to figure out, where did those minds need to be on the field in order, when the chaos ensued, because, Chino was always the guy that was, full head down. I'm going to go to the side of the field off the break. Like, I'm going to hit head in the dirt, and I'm just going to go as far and as fast as I can. And the first guy that I meet, I'm going to bunker him. The second guy that I meet, I'm going to bunker him. And then I'm going to stand up and just run down the sidelines. And it was like,
all right.
Hey guys, we're 6 on 7, and let's just hope that Chino can take out at least the 2 that he said, and then Ore would go over there in the snake. He played very well. He was a little bit slower, but kind of that same Miami mindset, where they were just like, yo, get in your face, punch you in the mouth. Like, they wanted to make you afraid to come to the 40 or to the 50-yard line.
That's
or
right.
our side of the field, So I think that played into the style of where we were at, because we had people that would send it, but we also had people that understood the game, where we could play off of the chaos, and we could put together the pieces once everything kind of calmed down, or the run throughs ensued, and the chaos and the flags and the screaming, and there was a couple of guys that were like
patrolling.
All right, hey, look, let's figure it out and let's go win this real quick. And and that was cool, and it was challenging, and it was fun, and it was it was erratic. There was lots of action, and the fans loved it, right? They loved the screaming and the yelling and the antics, and the world of paintball was in a little bit different era, where I think there would have been a lot more red flags on Miami Rage. There was a gray area in which we played, a little fear factor that, if you got a little too crazy with us, we'd see you in the parking lot, or, the stands would come to the nets. There might be some stories that are floating around out there, but,
Dude. Hey, it was just a different era, man. And
Absolutely.
The game, it was a different format, different time, different energy. And it's something that, if you haven't done your research, go watch after you're done with this,
Absolutely.
Go watch some Miami Rage videos, dial in on some OG paintball and see what we're talking about, because it really was an exciting time in the game. And yeah, after we had 08, 09, obviously the economy took a tremendous hit, and it's taken us quite some time to even get back to like it started revamping 18, 19, 20, 20. It really took off because I think of, the pandemic. People needed an outlet, found paintball. We started the show, and things have been like booming since 2020. So let's just hope for the best and hope we can keep it pushing forward in the right direction. Because I think right now it's positioned quite possibly better than it's ever been positioned, with the way that we have telecom working in our advantage. And there's so many hungry people on the back end that are really working hard to make sure that paintball gets seen in the right light and that we package and distribute this thing in the correct way for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think there's the right people in the right places this time, right? Like the first time around, and for those that don't know, go take a look, like Tyler was saying, right? But the first time, it was a flash, right? It was fun. Everybody was just kind of living in the moment, and we were trying to make it as big as possible, as quick as possible. But we didn't build those pillars along the way. As we started to build those floors, right, we weren't really securing down. And I think with the right people in the right places now, we're doing it the right way. And maybe it's not as fast and as flashy as it was before, but I think it's we're building it with the pillars that will stand the test of time. And that's really, I think, showing, right, as we start to see these other outside influences starting to become a part of the sport. So it's definitely awesome to watch it this time, for sure.
It is, man. It's been a ride. It's been a journey. We're just happy we're just grateful, honestly, to be able to play paintball. It's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to all of our lives here. I'm sure many people that are tuned in, it's changed your lives. So just being in a space of gratitude and pushing it forward in the right direction, I think will go a long way.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
for sure, brother. Yeah, so let's kind of dive back in too, though. So you had the days with with Rage, and then I think you took a little bit of a break. Let's kind of talk about what that was like, stepping away from paintball for a little bit, how you got back into it, and to where you are now with Damage.
Yeah, absolutely. So so paintball went into a kind of a different light, right? And so I kind of was like, well, everything that I had known since I was probably 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere around that, everything I had known was paintball. I played baseball a little bit, but I really gave up baseball to pursue my dream with paintball. And so I was kind of at that light where I was like 19, 20 years old, and I'm like, the whole world was kind of opened up to me. I'm like, oh, I got time that I didn't know what to do with. So took a couple years off, had some fun, really started to enjoy myself, and really reconnect with all of my friends that I grew up with, that my family that I never, all the birthday parties that I missed, all the, the events. So I really went and connected with some friends, connected with my family, started to figure out who I wanted to be as a human being. Then I was kind of like, I started talking to my now wife, and started to work on some things. And so I was like, all right, hey, like, let's, we're starting to get here. We're starting to get up here in a little age. And so we kind of put together a plan, and we're like, hey, like, let's start a family. And I said, okay, cool. Like, if we're going to start a family, like, I'm out living in an apartment, she was living in an apartment. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I don't want to do this kind of just like sporadically. So I was like, hey, let's, I'm going to go move in with my mom. I'm going to save enough money. We'll buy a house. I was like, then we can start a family. Right. And at first, like, what? You're going to move in with your mom, you're middle-aged 20-year-old guy, and I was like, no, like, this is the right way to do it. So, we talked about it, and then, a year later, we're like, all right, cool. And, so bought a house, started a family, and really started.
But that's the smart way to do it right there, man. That's like, people want to have their ego all tied into things and want to judge all this stuff, but you're being smart. That's smart.
Yeah,
it
was really for me. I grew up a little, with really just my mom, in my younger life. Like, for what it's worth, right? And those that don't know, paintball really saved my life. Like, if I needed some sort of sport, I needed some sort of outlet. I grew up in a bad neighborhood, just my mom really at home. And so we didn't have a whole lot of money. So I had to find something to occupy myself, or I was going to get myself into trouble. And so I kind of looked and reflected on that when I had a serious girlfriend and we were talking about starting a family. I was like, I don't want to do it unless I can do it right, because I've seen so many people around me, and I've grown up with older people, and I've seen how many people have failed in doing so because they just want to do it fast, right? We talked about this in the sport. When we do it fast and flashy, right, we don't create those pillars to support ourselves for challenges down the road. And so, you know, it wasn't the easiest conversation to have with my wife when I was like, hey, you know, I want to do this right. I want to save up and let's start a family. But it was well worth it looking back on it. You know, my wife can agree. And I didn't want to start a family and put myself in a position where that could ever really be challenged, right? And when I mean challenged, like not by the outside things, but by the controllables. I have to control the controllables for me, and that was creating a family with a good foundation. And we were able to successfully buy a house and beautiful.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, and now we've been in it, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. But
Blessings.
yeah, for sure. And then my wife's like, all right, cool. So we got the house. Like, let's start this family, right? And so we kind of talked about, if we have a boy, we'll do this. If we have a girl, we'll do this. Because the deal was, I really wanted 2 kids. My wife had a son from a previous marriage, and at this time he was roughly around 10 years old. So I was like, all right. So we were blending those families, and we were making it happen. And so we had my son in 2016, and we went right back for it, and had my daughter in 2017. And then I was like, all right, babe, we got
That's it.
I was like, Doc, cut it up. We're no more of this.
So I did. Same thing here. I had 2, and I was like, call the doctor. Call the doctor.
That's it. We don't know more. So I have definitely been blessed, with an amazing wife, amazing kids, and being able to have a happy and healthy family. And for me, beautiful. That was, that was an awesome blessing for me. And, we're going through the infancy stage of 2 and the nightmares that those bring. And all those parents that are going to watch this are going to go, yep, we know, it was just full blown chaos, very little
straight
sleep,
up
stress to the max 24/7. But something that makes you become a mom and dad, right? Those are stages you got to go through.
It's honestly the most beautiful chaos, because it's wild and madness, but that it's the most beautiful thing that you created, and they're supposed to be that way. So you got to remind yourself that way. Like, kids aren't supposed to be all like, easy going. They're going to be crazy. They're going to be wild.
Yeah, there's surely no handbook to perfect it. That's for sure. Everyone's like, oh, everyone has an opinion, and everyone does it a little bit different. And the biggest thing for me is happy and healthy and safe. That's really, are you being safe? Are is your family happy and healthy? Everybody's going to carve out their own path. There's no, being a parent for dummies. Here you go. This is the easy way to do it. So we had our kids, both of our children, and we were, running a household with 3 kids. Our oldest son was in baseball. We had our 2 kids under 2, and we were going through those. And finally, my daughter had probably reached that like 2.5 age. My son was probably around that 3.5, 4 age. And my wife's like, all right, and we had been 100% together for probably the last 3 years. We probably hadn't had a day or 2 separated in 4 years, right? Between pregnancy, childbirth. She's like, go find something to do.
Get out the house.
You gotta get out the house.
And I'm like, okay, what do I do? I'm in my 30s. I'm like, okay, so is it cornhole? Is it fishing? Is it, frisbee golf? Like, I'm terrible at golf. So please don't ever invite me to play golf. So I'm like, I'm not even going to try to learn golf in my mid 30s.
It's so difficult.
Yeah. So I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And so a buddy of mine, Chris, he had been calling me, I don't know, 5, 6 years. He'd been going on, you got to come play, you got to come play, you got to come play, you got to come play. And I was like, I'm a chapter guy in my life, right? Like, when I start a chapter, I like to get through the chapter. And when I feel like a chapter has closed, I like to close the chapter and appreciate the challenges, the milestones, the learning life lessons that were in that chapter, but move on to the next chapter, right? Like, again, when I started a family, I wanted to start a new chapter, and I wanted to start a new chapter with purchasing a house, and so on and so forth. And I was fearful that if I felt like I would be opening up that chapter of paintball, which I felt like I left
Thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for the tremendous support with the PTG show. If you are enjoying these episodes and want to help with the progress and development of this program and connect with like-minded, hungry paintball players, then head on over to ptgpodcast.com, click the orange Patreon link, and become a member of the PTG World Discord chat room. And now back to the show.
On great terms with so many people. I had so many great experiences. I felt like come back in and I taint it. Will I taint the original chapter for me? And it took me a really long time to be able to say, we're just going to write a new chapter of paintball, right? Like this would be the second coming, if you will, or, second iteration. And so he finally, I'm like, all right, man, the wife says, get out of the house Friday night. Let's go. So we go up to the local paintball field, and it's a Friday night, and he's got all the stuff. He's like, just show up. All right. Play the first game, and I'm like, I'm playing rec ballers. I'm like,
he's still got it.
what am I doing here? And he's like, why? What's wrong? And I go, I want to play paintball, but I want my paintball. Like I want some competitive edge. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah. He goes, well, there's a local private field. We can go run on Sunday. And I was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
Here we go.
Him and my wife start messaging behind my back. I have no idea. So my wife's like, yeah, we're doing this, that, and the other. We wake up Sunday morning, right? And I just got my lunch packed this whole night. She's like, Chris will be here in 15 minutes. Huh? I thought we had plans. She's like, yeah, no, Chris will be here in 15 minutes to pick you up. You're going to play paintball today. And I'm like,
oh, I love that, bro.
So I was like, I love you, babe, but I don't really know if you know what you're opening up yet.
It's a wormhole. She's opening the wormhole, dude. It's so on.
We went, we played. We had a great day playing X-Ball. I had no idea. I had JT pants from 2005. I had a 2X jersey on. I had, which is cool now, right? But I had JT goggles from 2004. I show up. These guys are like, what do you? I have a view loader, velocity loader. Like
you probably
they're like,
you didn't even realize
timestamp.
Yeah,
straight up timestamp out of that era.
I just opened the time capsule, and now all of a sudden I'm, and they're like, I show up, everybody's like, what are you wearing? And I'm like, this was cool. This was cool 40 years ago, and they're like, not anymore.
The goggles you had were probably $1,000 goggles. You didn't even realize it.
Headbands and stuff. People are like, can I buy that? I'm like, no. Why do you want to buy my sweaty headband? So
it's relics.
It's funny how we're shooting halos and wearing JT goggles all over again, right? Flashback from 2002.
It's all cyclical. Yeah.
So my wife gets me out there. I play. It was a great day, and I come off the field, and she had shown up with my kids, and she was like, oh, this is so great. And so I had to come home and have a conversation with her. I said, babe, I love you, and I really appreciate this, but when you say getting me out of the house and me playing paintball, you have to understand that you weren't super familiar when I was in my young teenage 8 years, and this is a wormhole, as it opens up a gateway, right? Like, you're not sure what's behind that door. And I can tell you that it's a lot, right? Like my competitive edge and where I'm at and my knowledge in the game, like I don't have a stop button. I have a 0 or a 100. Like there's no in between. There's no like casual paintball for me. She was like, no, but I think it'd be really good for you. Like get outside, get in shape, do all these things. And I was like, maybe some subtle hints were dropped in there. The dad bod was getting a little old, you know what I mean? So I started back. So I started back playing, my points had only dropped to Division III. I hadn't played in how many ever years. And
damn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I started playing some Divisional III. We started working it out. Ended up going to World Cup. Funny story how the, kind of the universes align sometimes.
What year was all this?
This was COVID. So I want to say
2020.
2020.
Okay.
We
With
had
Mutiny,
just,
right?
No. So this was before that. I played Division III finals World Cup against Paintball Fit and lost. So this is when Paintball Fit was in 20.
Paintball Fit just been whooping everyone's ass.
It's been whooping us for. Man, I gotta hang my head to that.
Paintball Fit is whooping everyone's ass these days.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was like, fuck, we weren't supposed to be there. We were out there with just a bunch of good kids having some fun, man. And we go out there and Paintball Fit rolls up. They got AC cool. We're, eight guys playing D3. You know what I mean? Like, I got a wagon from my truck. These fools pull up with AC coolers and tents. This, got a pit crew of 9 people. And I'm like, damn, boys, we might be cooked.
Details.
Like, we go out there and Cole's just out there just eating on the camera, and I'm like, bro, this is serious right now? Like, this is who we lost to? Like, this is not okay, guys. And this was before I knew the Fit story, right? So for what it's worth, I was just like, no, this will never happen to me again. And my boys were like, what does that mean? I go, it's time to get to work. And that's what I did. I got in contact with Andy Horvath, right? And I was just like, hey, like, what do I got to do? Like, I need an organized camp that's going to push me and grind. And so we started working together, and he was coming to Florida all the time, and I was just grinding. And so I jumped in with Mutiny, played a couple of events with Mutiny, and Andy Horvath ended up leaving to AC Dallas at the time, or AC Diesel at whatever their name or iteration was at that time. And so Mutiny at that time, we played a couple of events after him, and it just wasn't the same, didn't have that same organized structure. So at that point in time, I reached out to Joey Balut, and I was like, hey, look, 100% honest, I know I'm not ready, but I need the structure, the competitive edge. I need a sharp sword to grind my sword with. And, I'm not asking the team, but give me a spot on the practice squad, whatever it is. Like, give me to sharpen my sword against you all. I know I'm not there today, but I promise you that if given the opportunity, I'll get to where I need to be. And he was like, let me get back to you. Fortunately enough for me, my buddy Mikey Warren had to step aside not long after that for some work related. He was going through some trainings at work and was not able to make an event. And Joey's like, you got the spot for now, but Mikey's going to be coming back. And I was like, there won't be a spot left. I love you, Mikey, but I was like, there won't be a spot left, man. I know me, and I'm if there's one, all I needed was that door just to be cracked, and I was going to run with it. And no offense to my boy Mikey Warren, I love you, and I know you did come back after that. But I was still there, right? Yeah, no, I didn't take my spot, man. I knew once I got the door cracked, right? Joey Blue gave me the opportunity, and at that point, I knew I just had to run with it, right? And that's just been what we're on. I think this is my 3rd season. I joined midway through the season, so this will be my 3rd season, 2nd start to a season with Damage, and it's just head down grind, man. Out there every weekend, just sharpening the sword in whatever capacity I can, whether it be shooting plates, working on some off the break shooting, 1-on-1 drills, snap shooting with somebody, running 3-on-3s, 5-on-5s, whatever we can do, man. And nobody can take it from me now, man. I'm just trying to run with it and get back to where I know I can be.
Yeah, man, it's so dope you're in the game, and you've grown through this game as well. Like, you had your time where you weren't a part of paintball, and through that you grew and you built your beautiful family, and now you've been able to step back into the game as a veteran. So how has your approach now as a veteran changed as opposed to when you were younger?
Well, first and foremost, I have to say that I appreciate the game this time around, right? And I don't mean to say it in a negative light, but when I was young, I didn't appreciate it, right? Like, it was just kind of there. It was fun. It was what was going on. But, the times, the memories, and the events, I didn't appreciate. So now when there's an event, I appreciate it. I want to spend the time taking care of myself and spend the time watching my film, taking care of my body, really taking in the moment of the event, because I now know that the next one's not guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. And this sport, myself, my body, it may not be there next event. So, take advantage and really appreciate the moments, appreciate the challenges. Definitely focus on a lot of the small details, right? Like, don't just, I'm just here to play paintball, have fun, be a kid. It's more about perfect craft and focusing and locking in to do a job. So I approach it in my head more in a professional manner rather than in a childish manner, right? Like, just
well, it was just like the name. It was a rage. It was the Miami Rage.
It was the vibe for sure. But,
real quick.
Yeah.
For all the listeners, head over to the YouTube. Look at this photo I'm about to share. We're pulling it up. We've got
That's
the OG. That's the kid right there. This is just,
Yeah.
again, one of those iconic Miami Rage photos of Marky as a kid. Got the dreads, bro. You got the whole
The
thing going on.
golds, the big
Got the gold.
earrings. I got, the chains out, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like
Yep.
it was a vibe, man. That
It was a
but,
vibe. That look was hard body.
Yeah, but I mean,
Probably wipe that hit off your forehead mid-game. that hit right there, you definitely did not come out on.
Slide. Oh, you see the sweatband up there? That sweatband was just slid right down.
Yeah.
What hit? What are you talking about?
What hit?
But I lived that life,
thugging in
man.
public
I
right
lived
there.
that young crazy life, and so
So much
now
fun.
I get
that's
to appreciate
iconic,
it as a dad rather than that thug kid. Like
Yeah.
I posted a picture the other day. I just said hoodlum. Like
Hoodlum.
Hoodlum.
that was what it was. But
Yeah.
All
was-
love,
Oh,
man. It's so
All
much
love,
fun.
bro.
It's
Yeah.
a point in time in a life, that you have to appreciate for what it was, and I'm super thankful to make it out of that phase for sure. But yeah, it was definitely a vibe back then.
But that was a pillar to the
yeah.
character you've got now and who you've become,
Absolutely.
and so yeah, it's important to appreciate, like you said, chapters in your life and understand them for what they are. And obviously you've grown into an amazing father. I've seen you out at the field with your boy many times. And a phenomenal paintball player, good dude. Every time I see you, it's good vibes, nothing but fucking smiles and respect. So yeah, man, that was one chapter, but a hell of a chapter nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And in a chapter that we can learn from and really enjoy this time around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like take those little pieces, like it's still in there. Like don't get it twisted. I might be a little professional and I try to smile and be good vibes nowadays because I understand, my character was a little different back then, but somebody get a little sideways. Remember, it's still in there.
Oh, guaranteed.
You can still catch them hands.
Yeah.
You still catch them real quick,
Well, that's the juxtaposition of life is like you grow up a certain way, like, whatever way that you grow up is going to mold you and give you that other outlook on life. And then you can grow off that. You're given an opportunity, essentially.
Absolutely.
You're given an opportunity to grow, or maybe it could stifle you. Or maybe, maybe it stifles you and then you grow, but the journey is up to you. And like, I grew up in NorCal, saying like lots of, that's where Cat Factory grew up. They actually did the gold chains on the jerseys.
That's a grail piece for me. So if somebody's got a Cat gold chain jersey floating around out there with some area codes on the background, you let me know. Yes, for sure.
Straight up. Yeah. So like those moments in time, they built us into the characters that we are today, the people that we are today, but it's still like, those are our roots, that era in the game is how we found this game. That's what built us into the players that we are today. So it's still in there. It's still gritty paintball. It's still, you still got the flashiness. I see you out there on the field flashing out on them, letting them know what's going on.
Gotta let them know,
Yeah. So it's just an amazing game that has built us into, some fun people that love a sport and want to see it do really well. And I do want to talk about Damage because Damage has been so consistently dominant over the years. In your opinion, what has led to that consistency of dominance on the paintball field for Damage?
I'd have to say kind of behind the scenes, like just the camp, the structure, the organization, right? Like there is some big personalities, but there's, a bigger purpose. And I think the expectation level is extremely high. Like I love all my boys and but there was a high expectation when I said, hey, I want to sharpen my sword. They're like, it's every weekend, Pop. Like there's no off days. There's no off weekends. Oh, you hurt your foot? Sounds good. Go over there and shoot plates. Like if you can't run drills, you can't play 5-on-5. Like you can find something to do. You working every weekend. You know what I mean? Like there's guys that are, hey, we're out there Wednesday, we're out there Saturday, we're out there Sunday. I mean, and so for me, I appreciated that kind of structure and that for my professional job and my professional approach, like I translated that into looking for something similar in a paintball structure or a paintball organization. And Damage is that, right? Like they are the epitome of hard work. I don't know a guy that's on the team that doesn't work multiple days a week, every single weekend of the month, so I think that you guys spoke about it last week, right? Like with fit and just kind of the amount that they play the game translates into the consistency in which we're seeing today, right? And I think Damage, kind of the same core group of guys playing together for however long, right? And playing often and together, those things translate into success. I think in all aspects of every sport, right? Like that's why they want it, no matter what sport it is. If it's a team sport, you're around those guys as much as humanly possible. Apologies to our families in advance. You know, that's it, it's the path in which we've chosen, and I think that's how you in those, because we put ourselves in stressful and chaotic situations, right? Like 2-on-4s, 2-on, you know, in your down body situation in on a Sunday game, we've put ourselves in a chaotic situation, and we need to look to our left and right and understand that those guys are ready to go through the trenches for us, and we're putting our bodies on the line in order to come out successful. And you know, the Damage camp is those guys. Like every one of those guys, they'll take their t-shirt off their back to make sure that you are covered and taken care of. But then they'll also go right into the dogfight with you. They'll walk right into the lion's cage, no questions. That you're going? Oh yeah, we going.
Of course,
everybody's going in together. So to me, it's kind of that brotherly bond and that kind of, you know, family unit working together, you know, kind of creates that bond where there's no we're never down and out, right? I got my brothers next to me. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like it's I always think of the Roman soldiers, right? Like they're all good. It doesn't matter the number, right? As long as I got my brothers to my sides, we're good. And I think that's why the Damage camp is continued to be successful. And I know that there's other organizations around the league that kind of are the same way, right? When you look at their pillars, they've been there for a long time, and they've outside of this newfound, I shouldn't say newfound, right? I don't want to discredit fit, but kind of newfound success within the pro level. You know, those pillars of consistency within our league have been the same organizations to win over how many years. So
that's changing though. It truly is.
The meta is changing. Yes.
Which is really good. You know, it's good to have change in the sport. It's good to have, you know, young teams come in and challenge the way things have been done. That's where you get growth from, you know, because you're right. For a long time, the top teams had all of the experience and you just couldn't overcome the experience out there, but teams are overcoming the experience now. So yeah, it's good to see. And I think it's inspiring for young teams that are working their way up through the ranks too. Like if you're a semi-pro team, I think probably 3 years ago, the idea was if you were to earn a pro spot, unless you had this, you know, insane amount of funding, you weren't going to be able to keep your team together and you were never going to win in the pro division. That's changed now. So you're going to see teams stick together a little bit longer, you know, and if a semi-pro team does earn a pro spot, there's that hope that if you have the right system, if you have, you know, the right group of players that practice enough together and play enough together and buy in, you can win and you can be very successful, and you don't have to, you know, pay somebody $100,000 to come to your team. You know, that's the reality. Oh, we got you.
Oh yeah. There we go. You there?
There we go. Yeah. We got you. But
I lost audio.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, we were just, you know, again, kind of giving fit some of their flowers and talking about upcoming semi-pro teams and even divisional teams. If your goal is to turn pro, how the conversation has changed a little bit. But dude, let's dive into Tampa a little bit, to the actual event. You know, obviously Damage, if Damage is not winning tournaments, it's coming up short. Same with us. So
Absolutely.
You know, all three of us here feel like we came up short. Let's talk about that event. You guys beat Aftermath 3-1, Royal City, what was it, 4-3, 3-2, something like that, 1 point game,
something like that.
Yeah, and then Diesel, I think, was 4-2, and then you guys lost to Red Legion, which was the last game of the prelims, and then you guys lose the Dynasty Sunday morning. I kind of want to talk about that Red Legion game and, you know, how you guys approached it, because obviously going into that match, you're basically guaranteed into Sunday. So did you guys experiment with stuff and lose to Red Legion, or was it like, you know, we just got beat by them, and maybe that kind of shifts your belief of, you know, how to play the field going into Sunday?
Well, I think kind of both ways, right? Like I think everybody here knows, right? Red Legion wants to beat you with numbers. Sheer numbers. They want to play a lot of points, right? And we also know another thing about Red Legion is they have some the center of this field was very powerful, right? And what do we know about Red Legion? If there's a powerful center, they definitely want to exploit that, right? So we wanted to learn a little bit more. We wanted to understand and kind of force their hand a little bit, right? Like, show me what you got to see in the middle, right? Because if we can run, 15 points against Red Legion, and we can see kind of, they're going to have to show us something, because we're not afraid to go to the deep end with you as well. So like, let's run some points. And we feel our statistics are right there with your statistics. So let's go to the deep water. But we wanted to see where they were going to be at in the middle, because to our understanding, I think, Friday, right, people are trying things. Saturday, we started to figure out a meta. But as we all know, right, that meta shifts on Sunday, right? Especially when you get another team that's kind of holding back. And we wanted to kind of get an early glimpse. We knew that we could risk it, right? And if we are ever going to lose one, I want to lose game 4 on Saturday and not the final game on Sunday. You know what I mean? Like that's the one where I can play with a little bit. And so that was kind of our mindset, is like, let's see if we can get the Russians to show us their cards a little bit, because if we feel that we can see, Red Legion's best in the middle, then we can be prepared for what anybody else is going to throw at us in the middle. And, and Dynasty did a great job, right? Like Blake up the middle, like that was what we were kind of preparing for, right? Because we knew, there was going to be a different meta for the middle day. And so that was kind of our win, lose, or draw, able to find ourselves, perfect some things, and see some things that hadn't really been shown when we were playing them. And I feel like for us, that was the best team to play at the best time, with our standing 3-0 record at that point, to be prepared for what we were going to see on Sunday. Unfortunately, I think we saw what we needed to see on Saturday and just weren't able to execute it to the best of our ability on Sunday morning. And Dynasty, for what it's worth, right, they did a phenomenal job in the center. And I don't think, at least, from my perspective, I wasn't prepared to see that type of middle presence from them. And we just, they were able to keep us short and punch us through the middle. And it worked more often than not. So, they ended up coming out victorious on Sunday. And
I didn't get to watch that game yet. I haven't gone back and watched all the Sunday matches. But a few of the games that I did watch of Dynasty on Sunday, Blake was just so dominant up the middle, just an absolute animal. And Yosh played the middle very well too. Yeah. Those two, kind of taking turns punching, was a huge standout for them. I imagine Chris really wanted that win. What was his energy like?
And
after the match,
Chris and SK, right? Like that was kind of, they were, I mean, anytime you leave a team and then you have to play that team at the very next event on Sunday, you always want to be victorious, right? Not that I ever want to walk out there and say, oh, we could lose to these guys, right? No, we always want to win. But it was, I mean, I think, right, I don't want to sell it short. It's disappointment, right? Like, you're losing on Sunday, you're losing to the team that you left, like, I don't think there was anything inside of him that wasn't short of disappointment. So for that, Chris, SK, we're sorry. Next event, we'll bring it. We'll bring some redemption for you boys.
Chris told me that it was all SK's fault.
Yeah. Listen, I don't get into those arguments. I let those conversations happen behind closed doors, but fair enough.
No, I totally made that up. But what I do know about Chris is that definitely fueled him. He's one of the harder working players. He was an amazing teammate to have, because I knew he was always at the field. I heard he won the one-on-one tournament, your guys' practice, which, again, your team is loaded with like phenomenal one-on-one players. So I was like, damn, Chris, that's actually a pretty big accomplishment on Damage.
And he beat me.
Damn, bro.
In the finals?
In the finals.
I'm just pulling up sore subject after sore subject here. Shit. I'm about to catch these hands, bro.
You lost on Sunday. You lost the one-on-one. What have I won lately? Come on now.
Hey, it goes one way, then it goes the other. You know what I mean?
Listen, there's stacked with one-on-one players, like, and paintball players in general, but in one-on-ones, I mean, our one-on-one competitions are always fierce, and we do them at the beginning, as you're familiar with. At all of our practices, typically on Friday, we'll run a full session, and they took some scores, and So we went into a semifinal round and a final round and the whole 9 yards. And I had played Chris in the prelim round, and I kind of thought that I had it. Like, he slow played me, and so we were playing, and he was slow playing me in the Doritos, and I kind of like what I thought to be was a good move to catch him on a wrap in the Doritos, and he just totally put his foot in the ground, came on the inside, and ran me down. And I was like, Chris, I hadn't seen that from you all day. And I, Chad, I'm expecting. Chad's coming.
Yeah.
He's putting his foot in the ground. He's running me down, right? Chris here put his foot in the ground. He came, ran me down, and I was like, you
Nice
held
move.
that card, right?
You
Like,
held that card.
Yeah, he did. He played it well. And so, it
love
was
that.
for $100, which made the one-on-one competition even more spicy.
Yeah. I love that.
Hats off to him. Hats off to you, Chris Shear. You beat me.
Yeah, it's important to have those competitions, especially for divisional teams. Again, it's part of learning how to win. So any of the divisional teams that I coach, I've implemented stuff like that from day one. You have a one-on-one tournament at the end of practice and put some on the line. Everybody puts $10 in, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be something big, but it's just that competition. And then there's a little bit of pressure. And it's so funny. Like, I was out at Dan Bilzerian's house this weekend working with their team. They're getting ready for the WC. And so at the end, we're doing one-on-ones, but there was nothing on the line. And like, you're watching players just kind of run at each other and bunker each other and make all these big moves. And then I was like, all right, now we're doing single elimination tournament one-on-one. And it was such a different pace that they played, And I'm like, look, there's no reason to play. You guys are playing at a different pace because of this imaginary pressure, right? And it's not so much about playing harder or like, more reserved. They were just missing opportunities and playing almost scared, and it's like, you really have to understand that nothing has changed. Play the right way. You've just added this imaginary pressure, and I think that's a valuable thing to learn as you're, climbing through the ranks is you can't be afraid to make the big moves in the big moments. That's the time to make it. That's put your foot in the ground and make it, and like exactly that. It seems like Chris did exactly that. And, we have moments on Dynasty, I remember, I think it was Texas against you guys, Tyler, in 2023. We were in overtime, and I remember Chris was like, I'm going to send it, and he went like all the way to the Dorito 4 on the break. It was like this huge up and over move. And I was like, perfect. Like, I love this play because you're going to do that. I'm also going to run out to the Dorito corner. It was like a double risk, that we hadn't done, we had done it in practice, but we hadn't done in that match, and it was overtime in the finals. And we're like, what better time to do it? Let's roll the dice. And I mean, we both made it. We were able to get a quick kill off of it. And we lost a body on the snake side on the break. So we were down bodies, but because we took that big risk on the Dorito side, we were able to capitalize. But yeah,
you guys picked up, I think you picked up 2 off the Dorito side.
Yeah, I picked up Moorhead real quick, and I forgot who the next one was, but you got to be willing to roll the dice in the big moments. That's how I think you win. And I would rather lose that way too. I'd rather like go for it and lose than, leave something on the table and say, what if? But that's relatable in life, right? Like you would much rather try something and it not work than not try something and live with the regret.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Live by the sword, die by the sword. One way or the other, you got a sword in your hand, So 100%. Let's go. Let's send it.
Yeah. And that's something I personally have had to overcome in my career because, I grew up playing a pretty conservative style. Even when I was the attacker on the Dorito side, like I would do my job of getting into the spot, but it was conservative. I didn't take a ton of risk, and my survivability was really good, but I probably missed a lot of opportunities as well to have these like game breaking moves, get a lot of kills and be alive, which I do value, but I know that I was leaving stuff on the table. And so the last, 4 or 5 years, I really made a conscious effort to like, why not? Why not try to make these big moves? And they've turned out, pretty good for the most part. They don't always work, but when they do, it's like, it can be a game changer for the team. So it's a little bit of a mindset shift.
It's a percentage play, right? Like it's not like it's not going to be 100% of the time, but if the odds are more often in your favor, that's really what you got to run with. It's not nobody is going to have 100% success rate. So but if
it's like Blake Yarber is. It's impossible to have even a 80% success rate with the style that he plays. But I'll tell you what, it changes the way teams play you 100% of the time.
Yep.
You know,
and you,
so it's
you
like,
said it. You're like, you got
yeah,
that 5-pack, and you're like, and when
yeah,
he's on the field, 100% of the time, it changes the way that those guys are going to think about the middle of the field. Even if he doesn't do it, it
exactly.
changes the way that they play, and that's the impact that we have on the game just by being on the box. And
Yeah, totally.
some importance for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, E1 event 1 was awesome. Obviously, we both came up short, but it was a really, really great event, and we're excited to see what we got rolling into event number 2 in Atlantic City. We'll be back in the fun-filled Atlantic City area here in just like 5 weeks, rolling out there.
Wait.
Yeah, right around the corner. We're rolling right into it.
Yep. Yeah, we're going in. And then we also have we got Discord questions that we want to hop into.
Go.
Our community has some questions. They're excited you're here. Just before we get into that, where can everybody follow you on like socials to follow you on like the paintball journey?
Yeah. So Instagram is Marky MARKY _son SON.
All right.
And then Facebook, just Mark Ireland. Nothing too creative about that.
And Tampa Bay has their Instagram as well, so follow Tampa Bay Damage. Do they have? Does anybody do any YouTube stuff with Tampa Bay, or is it all pretty much through IG?
Yeah, pretty much everything through IG. I know Jason handles a lot of that, so he kind of splits his time between his brand Hate and the Tampa Bay Damage page. So pretty much all through IG. I don't know anybody that's from at least from our organization that's doing the YouTube thing just yet.
Yeah, and show love for the Hate movement, and then also Legacy Paintball Park and paintball culture, dude. For Florida, paintball culture has been one of the biggest in the country for a long time. How is the Florida paintball scene and the culture of the game looking out there these days?
Oh man, it's incredible, right? Like, it's one of the things that drew me back, right? Like, outside of the competitive side of the sport, it's the community and Legacy Sports, formerly known as Central Florida Paintball. It's just it's a phenomenal park. Jason Edwards, Tom Fox, they just actually finished up their first turf field. So for those on and off weekends, right, like less wear and tear on your body. A lot of the guys out there love it. It also gives us an opportunity to rest some of those naturally grassed fields. But the communities out there, the culture is Florida paintball is strong, man. I know you West Coast guys got your thing, you got your community, but Florida paintball is a vibe, and it's a great community. It's a really big, strong community. No matter where you go in the state of Florida, you have support, you have good people, you have great paintball fields to be able to go and play at. So anywhere you go in the state of Florida, man, there's a great culture, and for that I'm extremely thankful.
It's one of the most powerful paintball communities in the country, without a doubt. You have these really big pockets all throughout Florida. Obviously, the Northeast has a massive pocket. Texas is booming. Arizona is doing well, and California has been a staple. But we've got, and the Midwest is strong as always. So we've got these really, really big pockets of paintball, and Florida has always been a cornerstone of the paintball community, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
All right. I got a question right here. Ready, locked and loaded. All right. We got A. Sylvia. He says, Marky, you played paintball in such a pivotal era of the game on a team that made a massive impact on the people who were watching at the time. What was your favorite memory of that big boom era on Rage?
On and off the field. One on the field, one off the field.
Well, I mean, I think it goes easy for me, right? Boston 2006, we won from Miami Rage. So for me, that was the biggest moment, right? That was my first pro win. Still have the medal, still have the jersey, unwashed for what it's worth.
That's the event that Tyler and I met.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Right.
Yeah, we were on the same. We were on the same flight going to that event.
That's what the universes align, right? Like it was a pivotal point in both of our lives, or all of our lives, right?
Yeah.
But that was kind of the biggest moment for me, and the kind of the being able to see the fruits of my labor after so many years, right? And winning at so many other levels. But for me, when I came into this game, I know you've spoken about it, Marcelo, but like having a list of goals, right? And when I came into the sport, when at a young age, right, I set a list of goals for myself. And for what it's worth, the top goal on there, the one that I hadn't achieved, was to win a professional paintball event. And so when I did that, and I did that with what some of my best friends, that I spent so much of my life with, it was instrumental for me. It was just kind of like an all-time high to be able to make it to, at that time in my life, like the top of the pyramid, if you will. Like I hit my ultimate goal of winning a professional paintball event with the people that were closest to me, and it was pretty impactful for sure.
Man, it's timeless
dude.
memory right there. And that crew is legendary. Legendary crew.
And
Oh yeah.
we need a good off-field memory.
Off field.
That's it.
Well, I'll keep some. So I was with Art, and we were in South Florida, a couple of the guys, and so for those that know, I'm probably about 5'11", 170 pounds. We're out with 4, maybe 5 NFL players, and so after practice and Saturday night, Art's like, "Hey, they got a bunch of guys in town. Let's go out, go to the club." I'm like, okay, I got regular clothes on. I got basketball shorts and t-shirt on, right? So we go out, we have some dinner, and we're walking in one of these very nice, expensive Miami clubs, way above my pay grade. And I'm with, it's like NFL player, Art, and then, me and Travis Day. And we're just in the back of this line, get to the front door, and the doorman puts the thing down in front of us. He's like, "Not a chance." And I was like, Art, help me, bud. Like, I'm in basketball shorts. There's lines both sides of the street, people dressed to the nines, and I'm just standing there like, what I do? And Art turns around. He's like, "Hold on one second." Grabs one of the guys, Gerard Warren, big money, comes back, and he goes, "They're with me." And the guy goes, opens it up, and me and Travis, just right into the club. But we definitely didn't fit with the crowd that we were with. And we just, they were like, he's like, "Not a chance, bro." Like, and then,
so
the guy comes back, he's like, "They're with me." And that man lifted that thing like no questions asked. And we just walked in, went upstairs, had a great night, bunch of bottles, and debauchery ensued. And we probably didn't go to sleep till 6 o'clock the next morning. But
That's
yeah,
what's
so
up.
that was we're with those kind of guys. Like, yeah, all right, cool, and yeah.
No,
Nice. That's a great timeless moment right there.
It was a super fun moment,
Yeah, Art probably still laughs about that one whenever he talks.
Yeah, for sure. We had many a times, we'd be out and about, people would come up to him, hey, are you Art? He's like, "Why, who are you?" "Oh, so and so from the Raiders told me to call you, and I was down in Miami, like, you'd be able to get me hooked up." And he's like,
Come
"Who
on.
are you?" And he's like, "I'm so and so, I played with the Jets." And he's like, "Yeah, all right, send me your contact info, I'll get you." And I'm just like, "Who are you, Art? Like, how do NFL players refer NFL players to you? Like, how are you
Art's
that
the
guy?"
man, bro. Art's
Yeah,
the man.
Art's always been plugged in, man. He's always took good care of everybody, and he was that guy. He probably still is, but I'm not in that light. But he's always been the man in Miami, man. Always hooked up, always plugged in with everybody and anybody you need to know.
He's a level above. He's the outlet. You know what I'm saying? The boy is the boy is the one.
Yeah. Those that know need to know him to get what they need. It's
he's the man. Shout out to Art Mendoza, man. Legend. Absolute legend in paintball.
Legend.
All right, we got if I don't ask this, Did It Hurt will harass me. So I'm gonna ask
me too. I was gonna make sure that I was gonna make sure we asked his question.
All right, we got Did It Hurt? He's wondering, Mark, being in the game as long as you have, what is your take on having a possibility of a challenge flag with some NFL style rules? And also, what are your future plans when you finally do hang up the cleats?
Challenge flag. No. I'm a proponent of, let's train the best referees that we can to live in the moment, right? Like, for baseball, we still have an umpire behind the plate, right? Then NFL, we still have sideline judges. Like, I know that there's some rule, but it slows down the game, right? Like, does it make the game better? More than likely, but I feel like we have a good product, right? And I think if you stop the game, it's a momentum game. If you stop the game at a certain point to review, how long is the review? What does it take? Now all of a sudden, that snake won, now all of a sudden Keith Brown's re-energized. He just got a 7-minute break. That's not what you want to give to Keith Brown in the middle of a finals match. You know what I mean? So there's good and bad. So no, leave the game, right? Let the referees make the calls in the moment, the good, the bad. Sometimes they swing your way, sometimes, right? That's life.
Yeah.
just slide the sweatband down over the hip
Yeah,
and you're good, bro.
Yeah, you just gotta look this way, hit a little, And post, what am I gonna do when I hang it up? Probably be in the game in another capacity, right? So as we
Good.
talked about, my son is growing up, right? Like I have no interest in walking away from the game, and I see so many of those that paved the way before me have kind of hung up the playing cleats, but pulled out the work shoes, if you will, and they've done in so many things. You guys are still playing, but you guys have other avenues with the podcast, with your outreach to the community, with program, training and Team USA, and countless things that you guys do bring to the game. So for me, it would be setting up and assisting in my son's journey through the sport. So being able to continue to help the younger community, continuing to help my son, and continuing to make sure that Florida is a staple in this game.
Yeah. Love that.
Awesome. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Great answer. All righty. I would like to ask. Oh, yeah, I like this from Dilly Kills. Hey, Mark, what was your favorite? Or sorry, well, you already answered this. What was your first marker you played with? That was the Talon. And what's your favorite marker from the past?
So I still have it. So my favorite marker from the past was an Angel G7.
Sick.
It was the first gun that I got when I was on Miami or Rage. Like, I was just the Orlando kid when they started handing out all the cool colors. Like Jason Edwards got his. He got the flashy red fly, and Ore had the Rasta. What do you want, Marky? Give me the all black. I'll take the OG.
Yeah.
And I still have it
Hell
today,
yeah.
and I think it's from like
Nice.
2004, and it still shoots like a dream. It shot laser beams then, shoots laser beams now. So by far, probably like my favorite marker from back in the day.
How did you hold on to that for so long?
Well, like I said, I had some things from early 2000s that I kind of stashed away. And for what it's worth, my mom's a pack rat. So,
Smart.
I have like a stack, probably over a foot high, of old magazines. My mom just found like
Nice.
a full tote of like old paintball stuff. So shout out to my
There we
mom
go.
for pack ratting that stuff away for, a million years. But yeah, that's how I still have it, is, she kept it somewhere in a closet where I couldn't throw it away.
Let's go, moms.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
go.
Heck yeah,
Saving the
man.
day.
All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, this is good. Bolson, hey Mark, what's it been like getting to obviously play with your young man and being that figure in his life in that way?
Oh man, it's for me, it's a huge accomplishment, right? From like where I grew up and the challenges that I faced, and I for what it's worth, when they go back and watch this video, I wasn't supposed to make it out. I was supposed to be a statistic. I'm supposed to be, working my way into a seasoned professional and a father and a loving husband and a provider for my family. So, those experiences, to be able to provide that and grow up and do that with my son are just things that were unimaginable to me 20 years ago. So to be able to live it, like, I feel like I'm just living a dream, living on an all-time high, and stopping to smell the flowers and enjoy it along the way, because I'm extremely grateful for the opportunities in which I have. So I'm going to take advantage of every step, the full advantage of it the entire way.
Hell
Yeah, man.
brother.
Can't wait to see the youngster grow into an absolute monster and keep having fun out there.
U16 and what Masters, right? We're gonna come for the double combo here in a couple of years.
I love it, bro. You guys will make both of them. Let's go. That'll be tight.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Hell yeah. All right. I think this is probably the last question. This is my last question, at least from the Discord.
Absolutely.
And it's from Rounder. He wants to know, Mark, what's your favorite type of music and favorite band?
I think that's simple for me. Hip hop. And then I'm gonna have to say I kind of have a split. So I'd have to say Lil Wayne or T.I. Those are probably, like, if you're asking me what's going on in my headphones, pregame lock-in, it's one of those two guys, right? Like, just that early 2000, they were a staple in the game, and so for me, it's one of those
classics. They never go out of style.
I still listen to them today. I turn on like a playlist here or there, and I'm like, nah, let's just go back to the maybe it's me being stubborn, but I don't know, it just doesn't sound the same.
I'm with you whenever, and it's the timeline, that timeline, the memories, all the nostalgia that goes with it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it just has I guess a connection, right, to where I was at in my life and the things that I was doing, and being able to listen to it, I'm like, all right, cool, I can listen to it. I don't have to live it no more.
Straight up. Well, hey, dude, thank you for being a badass paintball player, an
Yeah,
amazing
man.
father, a pivotal person in the paintball community for Florida, and just helping keep paintball alive in so many ways. We can't wait to see you and the gang out there in Atlantic
Hell
City.
yeah.
It'll be just about a month away. And yeah, big ups to you and everything you guys are doing.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you guys so much for the invite, man. Much appreciated. Respect to you guys, and
Yes, sir.
see you guys on the battlefield in a couple of weeks.
You already know it,
Of course,
OG.
brother.
Let's
Thank
get
Yes,
it.
you.
sir.
Let's
All right,
go.
brother.
Let's
All right,
go.
boys.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to the show. We appreciate your support more than you know. As you guys heard about midway through the episode, if you guys would like to support PTG in any way, you could head over to ptgpaintball.com. You could click the orange Patreon link and sign up at any level and get access to our Discord. The Discord is one of the most phenomenal communities in the game of paintball. We have so many different channels in there. It's great for learning. It's great for connecting, finding teams, selling equipment, whatever it is you want to do in there. We truly have it all. And we hope to see you in there. So again, head over to ptgpaintball.com, click the orange Patreon link, and we will see you in there.